It's the Hog Sty.
Continuing our trend of humbling hosting famous Redskins, our guest today is ranked second in NFL history for all-purpose yards. As a standout special teams ace, ranked as one of the best all-time specialists by the NFL, he holds Redskins records for combined yards, punt return yards, kickoff return yards, and punt return touchdowns. If that were enough, he's a Pro Bowler and a Super Bowl winner. Nowadays, catch him on ESPN 980 with his compatriots and former Hog Sty guests Doc Walker and Scott Jackson, and as host of CSN's Sports Talk Live. Please welcome Mr. Brian Mitchell.
What's up, man? How y'all doing?
We're doing great.
Doing so great. So I guess we'll just jump right in here. We want to get your thoughts here on this Carolina game up front. What's your take on Hatcher's comments that the refs are punishing the team for the name change drama? Do you think that's the case? And do you think refs are influenced by off-field drama like that?
I think that's a stretch. I think the referee who had made those comments that felt a racial term, and he's no longer in the league. He's retired now. I think whenever you lose a game that bad, you're grasping for straws and you're reaching out. I saw it as an excuse thing. I mean, if they didn't have 5 turnovers and gave up 27 points on those turnovers, you might be able to say, okay, well, they have a point. But they don't have a point. You can't turn the ball over 5 times and expect to win any game in the NFL. I just hate when I see players, especially defensive players that gave up that amount of points, try to find and say that the referee did it. Yeah, the referees make bad calls. They made bad calls in the game last. The Patriots still figured out a way to win. The Skins are not that good to have all those turnovers and overcome things like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a great point. I mean, questionable calls aside, the Carolina game, like you said, it was just a mess. Why was it so bad as opposed to being at least respectable?
Well, I mean, you get out there and you have 5 turnovers on offense, and on defense you can't get off the football field. You can't stop them on third down. Every time they went down the field, they scored at will. I mean, when you're playing that type of game where, you just seem to be going through the motions, it's on you. This is an emotional game, and I watch a lot of guys on the team, and they don't play with emotion. They play kind of stoic. And you got to go out there and play and use some emotion and have some pride in yourself. I mean, I've been on teams where we loved each other, but we got into arguments when guys wouldn't do their job. I rarely see that on the squad.
Well, B. Mitch, I wanted to ask you about the running game. They going into the season were very focused on saying, hey, we're going to be a running team this year. We're going to run the rock. We're going to pound the ball with Alfred and Matt Jones. But Alfred's only got 400 yards on the season, 0 touchdowns, and the other guys aren't doing much better. Do you have any idea why it's not working very well?
Well, I think Sean Laval getting hurt caused a little bit of a problem, but now one guy should not make that big of a difference.
Agreed.
In the running game. I looked at them.
Right.
They stick to the running. They don't stick to the running game long enough. The offensive line has not blocked very well. They seem to be getting kicked back and pushed back into the backfield when they're trying to run the football. They've done a good job of pass blocking. The run blocking, they haven't been consistent enough for me. And I don't think they've been dedicated to it. I mean, they keep saying, well, we get behind. We don't get yards on first down and second down. Well, you don't get yards on first down and second down sometimes because it seems like the defenses are waiting for a lot of the calls. Like the game against Carolina, I felt that you have 2 linebackers in Davis and Kuechly who run unbelievably well. They read flow of a game very well, and they were waiting for them. They were running into the outside, and the D-line was stringing them along. You got to figure out a way to attack people like that, and I don't think they've been doing a good job of it.
I agree. It's consistency.
Yeah,
I mean, they had their week last week against the Saints, and then they come around and play like that against the Panthers. What do you think, though, about Matt Jones and his problem with protecting the football? Do you have any advice you can give him?
Well, I was just telling, ball security means job security. You keep dropping that ball, you're going to be watching other people run the football. But the thing about him, the guy is very ultra-talented. You look at Tiki Barber, he had a worse problem than Matt Jones as far as, fumbling the football. But once he started the Tom Coughlin tournament, keep the ball high and tight. The thing with Matt Jones, when he leaves the ground, I don't understand why these young guys want to jump all the damn time. It makes no sense to me. Whenever they jump, the ball seems to come away from their body. You can jump, but you want to squeeze that ball, especially, or put 2 hands on it, especially when you're jumping, because guys, in the NFL, guys tackle the ball more than they do the person. In college, people are just trying to hit the person all the time. and the other guy doesn't worry about the ball. But they will be scraping at that ball in the NFL, so he has to be more cognizant and just try to bring the extra hand onto it or keep it close to his body.
There's a lot of football left to be played, but there's been a lot of debate. This is very similar to the whole Robert and Kirk thing with Matt Jones and Alfred Morris. Because of his fumbling problems, it seems pretty easy to say that Alfred would be back next year if they work something out with the front office. I think it's pretty easy to say, right?
Well, I don't know if it's easy to say because the way that they've been handling Alfred this year, it seems like they want Matt Jones to take over. And even when he fumbles, they act like they want him to take over. I think when we look at both of the guys, and people are trying to knock Alfred, but I just look at both of their yards per carry, and they're about the same. So if that is supposed to be so much better, why is it? Ultimately, it's on and off the line to get it done, and it's a lot about the scheming and the game planning. They're not doing a great job of it.
Hey, well, what about the third guy, Chris Thompson? He kind of seems to have some big play potential whenever he gets his hands on the ball. Something kind of like what you did. Like he's obviously not in there all the time, but when he gets his hand on the ball, good things seem to be able to happen. What do you have any thoughts on him?
Well, Chris is more of that scat back type, a smaller guy. He's not going to carry the ball 20 or 25 times a game.
Sure.
He's a guy that comes into the game a change of pace back where he can do a lot of screens, draw plays, and those type of things. So that's why you have those big plays. When he's in the game normally, if they run the ball, you normally have a nickel situation or a dime situation where smaller guys are on the defense and he can get those big runs. He's very fast. And then the screen game is something that he does well. But I don't think he's that guy that you want to put back there and make him be your bell cow where he could be carrying the ball 20, 25 times. I think
he'd break in half if he did that.
Yeah, he'd get broken up.
This actually reminds me of a question. You were a special teams standout. Yeah, obviously the team struggles there. We want to ask you more specifically about that. You were a great back, and obviously our running backs are having issues this year. So my question for you is, does the team ever approach you in terms of mentoring players or offering advice?
Never.
No?
I've talked to some
They
of the
should
players,
change that.
I try to give them little hints and things like that when I get an opportunity. But as far as they never have, I wouldn't have a problem getting somebody and talking to them or go over and help them out a little bit. Coaching is something I don't want to do. But I think that there's, I've been out the game now for 12 years. I haven't heard anybody over there, and you continually have bad decisions on returns, and the special team doesn't seem to be getting better.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the return game, is there anything what would you first point to if they were asking your advice? I'm a big special teams junkie. I think it's a beautiful part of the game, and it doesn't get the respect it deserves. What do you think they should? What if you could change one thing that they're doing wrong? What would you look at?
Well, as far as the return game, I would just try to teach the returners that as far as the punt return, they have to get a better jump on the football. I don't think they get a jump on the football very well, and that caused them to make a lot of bad decisions, and they don't get into the game. They normally catch a ball going to the side, backing up, where it takes too long to get to the hole. Once they do that, then I would tell them, you block what's there. You get what's blocked for. If it's blocked for 20 yards or 15 yards, make sure you get that and don't try to go 90 and end up losing yards. Like Rashard Ross last week, he has to bounce back. In college, you can constantly do that. In the NFL, that's rarely going to happen for you.
You
got like Andre Robbins hit it the other day, straight ahead, and just kept going, and he ended up getting a successful return. You keep hitting it like that, you're going to get returns like that. The guys have enough speed. I just think that too many guys are always concerned about trying to make the big play instead of just going out there and let the big play happen.
You seem to be very anti-East-West. Is that a fair way to kind of put it? You want guys just to start going right?
The end zones are north and south. The end zones are not east and west.
Right.
The end zones are on each end of the field, not on the sideline. You keep running to the sideline, you're going to end up sitting on the sideline.
Mm-hmm. And I guess one of our last questions about the team currently is just, it seems to be up and down a lot. Some people would say it's inconsistency. I like to take an optimistic approach that it's we're learning. But, what are your thoughts on that? We were hot the week before, cold this week. Is it just a lack of preparation or what?
Well, they are learning. You say that, but then again, these guys have been playing football since they were little kids. And one thing about playing football, like I said earlier, is the emotional game. It's a game of passion, and you have to go out there and try to exude that every day, every game. And there are games where they come out and it doesn't seem like they're there. And then again, they play against some bad teams and they look very good. When they play against good teams, they look mediocre. So maybe it's a situation where they're good enough to be bad teams, but they're not good enough yet to compete against the very good teams. I think they're working towards that, but it's no excuse for not having any kind of effort. And when we see some of the games, there's a lack of effort that really upsets me.
Well, listen, I wanted to ask you, I feel like the Giants games are particularly chippy and tough games for us. Everybody always gets psyched for the Dallas games, but I feel like the Giants are a big rival for us. What are your thoughts on this coming game?
I think the Giants game is a big test for them. They were embarrassed by the Giants last time. And one thing about the team, they seem to be able to get up after they have an embarrassing week. But they don't seem to be able to put that, after having a good week, they can't bring back the next week and do the same thing. I expect them to come out a little bit more hungry and try to do some things against the Giants. Earlier in that Giants game, Eli was getting the ball out of his hands so quick the defense didn't have any chance to do anything. So I think they have to come up with a game plan as to be able to get to him quick or get their hands up to make it a little problem for him. I don't think you can play off of guys when Eli's going to try to get the ball. You got to throw off his timing a little bit and, make sure you move him off his spot. If they do that, they should be okay. But offensively, they cannot start off as slow as they did in their first game. And the turnover.
Yeah, it should help that they're back at home. I mean, they seem to be doing a lot better at home than they have in the past. If only they could fix their away games.
4-1 at home. So
I did have one last question from myself. Obviously back in the day there was something to those Super Bowl winning teams. I mean, obviously you guys were talented, but there was more to it than that. You guys had an attitude and a kind of swagger to you. You guys got the job done every time. Didn't really make a lot of fuss about it. So I'm just curious, what do you think is the biggest part that's missing from these current teams compared to the teams you were part of when we were so successful as the organization?
Well, the consistency of having guys around. I mean, right now in this day and age, you have guys in and out of teams year in and year out. And I think with this team, it's been inconsistent. They've had too many coaches and too many different quarterbacks and too many different kickers and punters and all the different positions. And, they change up. They learn something for a prolonged period of time. The guys are in the same type of offense or defense for prolonged periods, things will get better. They need to get some more better. They got to get better talent because they did lose a lot of talent in the Vinny Serrato days and also with Mike Shanahan. I think now Scott McCloughan will get them back to that. But I think they need to get a little bit more consistent. And, the guys are doing a lot of what we did. They do a lot of stuff together off the field. And I felt that chemistry and that family-type atmosphere made guys play hard.
I'll give this team credit this year. They do seem to care a lot more than they have in the past. I mean, there's guys in place that really do seem to be leaders that want to get away from the past and how things, guys just weren't caring or something like that. But do you see that building into that process? Do you see the change happening here and there, or is it still kind of lacking?
Yeah. No, I see things happening. I see leaders on the spot. I think the team is better now than it was last year, although the record is not proving that because I understand the process and what needs to happen. I can see those things starting to transpire, and, I can see the leadership taking control of the squad. So as they add a little bit more talent, I think things get even better. You look at Jordan Reed, I think when he's healthy, he's one of the best out there. Mm-hmm. Deshaun Jackson, I think when he's healthy, he's unbelievable. If that offensive line keeps growing, you look at the right side, no one expects them to be playing that good. So I look at guys in a year or two and expect how to be playing. Defensively, there are a lot of parts coming in. Bashard Breeland has been a guy, Will Blackman, I didn't right, thought he would play like that. I'm looking at Colors. I think he's a very good player, but not playing like that this year. So, and the possibilities of a D Hall being at safety. It's just they have to build in certain positions and keep moving forward, and good things will happen for them.
Yeah. Hey, I have a question. Kind of just, we're young guys. I'm the oldest of the three of us. I'm 32. So we, quite frankly, we miss some of the glory days. And I kind of wonder, what was it like working for a good owner like Jack Kent Cooke, did you ever get to interact with him a lot as a player? Was he very hands off?
Well, he was hands off when he came around. He knew the guys. He was talking to guys. And, you know, I think the thing about Jack, he did most of his work by hiring the coach and the general manager. He allowed them to do their job. You know, a lot of these owners today, you know, they basically come in and they're just like this fantasy football thing is real. You know,
right.
some owners
Are you talking about anybody in particular there, Brian?
So I just think that you know, he was unbelievable because he got the right people and he allowed them to do their job and he didn't interfere with it. Because when you're on a football team, the coach has to be the guy that all the players are listening to. You can't be walking past the coach, going to the owner's office, and if that starts to happen, you know, you look at the chain of command in the military. You know,
right?
You better listen to the person that's in charge. You don't get a chance to go to the brigadier general and talk to him. You know what I'm saying? You got to talk to whoever's leading your squad. And I think it needs to be like that here in this football thing. And it hadn't been like that for a long time. It seems to be moving in that direction.
So you never went bowling with Jack Kent Cooke?
Nah, not at all. Jack was too busy doing other stuff.
All right.
He was cool enough. He didn't have to act cool.
Gotcha.
Well, we have certainly come a long way from those days.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Brian. It's not every day we get somebody of your stature to come on and talk to us, so we're really thankful that you were here and
The
couldn't be
original
more
one-man
appreciative.
gang.
Oh, no problem, man. Y'all take care.
Yeah,
That's right.
You have a great night, sir.
All right, man. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
That was good.
I mean,
that was real good.
You know, I hate that we didn't get to get to a bunch of our questions.
Oh, man, that was awesome. Coming fresh
Yes, it
off
was.
the heels, of our interview with the great Brian Mitchell, we're going to do a little Giants game preview. But check out that interview if you haven't seen it already, because it was awesome. Am I right?
Well, how are they going to have seen it because we're on the radio or podcasts?
You make an excellent point. You make an excellent point, sir.
Yeah.
That's why our faces are made for radio.
However you absorb this interview. Right. Right.
Yes.
Big props. I have no idea.
With the Eagles?
Not a clue. Not a clue. Keep in mind, we're talking 13 years ago. No idea. Yeah, yes. And I was 14, pimping it around high school. Freshman, getting all the ladies. Heyo! He said it, not me. God, I have no idea. Tell us who it is. Yeah, tell us who it is.
Ryan
Okay.
Dawkins, huh?
That's actually not that crazy and obscure as I thought it was going to be. No. Yeah. Awesome.
Not
Awesome. Little Brian Mitchell trivia to whet your appetite for the interview, again, if you haven't listened to it already. Awesome stuff. So let's get to the game preview for the Gents coming up. Guys, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of terrified because I feel like this team has our number and has for some time. I'm worried. I'm straight up concerned, and this is a very high importance game considering we are still playing for first place in the division. Can you believe that? In November of all months. So what are your guys' quick, if you have any quick like headline thoughts about how this game is going to go, particularly with the frame of how the last one went in mind? Yeah. That's right. This is true. Well, they've gone loss win loss win loss, so that they're kind of hot and cold. I'll say, to your point, they are kind of like us in that they lose some games that they could win, and they win some games that they probably could lose. But I just feel like in a matchup of Giants against Redskins, even when it's in FedEx Field, they have their way with us. You know what I mean? Like, they're up 3 touchdowns and Coughlin's on the sideline, having a heart attack because they committed a 5-yard penalty or something. And it's just like the game's never in reach. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing, too. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, they went toe-to-toe with the Patriots and lost at the last second.
By 1 point or something, right?
And we got our asses kicked by the Patriots.
And we got our asses kicked by the Giants.
Yeah. So, I really, in my opinion, I really don't have any confidence. I don't think it's going to be really that close because, for one thing, we're not hardly ever good at getting pressure on Eli. He's just too quick at getting rid of the ball.
Yep.
Plus their defense is good at stopping the run for the most part, and obviously we can't run it on a consistent basis.
Right. Rouillet was making a funny point about Eli Manning today. It's so true. The dude he'll have a terrible game. He'll throw like these dinky little wobblers, and he'll be totally off his game for like 3 quarters or 3.5 quarters, and then it comes down to the game-winning drive, and he just puts together the most beautiful, miraculous drive you've ever seen. It's been said about Eli Manning a million times. Now, that's what he does in games against other teams. I feel like in games against the Redskins, it's just constantly out of reach. But he's just such a weird quarterback, and he's like our kryptonite, I feel like. I have no confidence really either, especially because if you just take a look at their stats, I mean, they've got a couple. Obviously, they got Beckham Jr., who's had ridiculous games. But when he's not having ridiculous games, it's someone like Ruben Randall or somebody. It always catches you off guard. He can spread it around when he has to, I feel like. That's the biggest concern for me. Particularly after last week's defensive showing. I mean, are you going to be able to really stop those two after not being able to do a damn thing last week? Did we drop out?
No. Sorry. I had to mute myself because about 10 cop cars just drove by my window.
Right, yeah, dirty. I heard that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that. No, I'm with you. It's going to be an uphill battle, no matter what happens. I don't think the Redskins have had a good win against New York since 2012. What was that, the second half of the season?
No, we swept them in 2012, I think. I think that was the best we've ever played against the Giants, probably ever.
Right, but we had one game where it was a night game. We won like 17-15 or something like that.
Yeah. I can't remember if that was early in the season or late, but I remember that game.
It was late in the season. I remember well because I went to Eastern Market to a bar and got alcohol poisoning.
Dear Lord.
And yeah,
you have
did not go into work the next day.
We're going to have an intervention with you here in front of all of our listeners. Yeah, well, this might be another weekend for alcohol poisoning, my friend, depending on how it goes.
Oh, I only do that during wins.
So, on the other side of the ball, I mean, again, what else? I mean, is there anything else that jumps out at you about Giants' offense? I mean, they're not exactly a team that, they're up and down. They're not a team that's going to put up 1 million points every week, But
you know how they're going to come at you.
Exactly.
If they're going to win, it's going to be the passing game. They don't have Brandon Jacobs anymore. They're not going to try or Tiki Barber or Ron Dane.
Yeah.
They're not going to try and run it down your throats these days like they did, in their glory years.
That's right.
So, it's going to be the passing game, which actually bodes well for us. I think our secondary has been the strong point of the team lately.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. We were talking about this last week, I think. I mean, that defensive secondary in terms of defensive units is probably our strength. They're on the defensive side of the ball, wouldn't you say? I mean, it certainly hasn't been the line like we all surmised it would be.
And it's still very depressing knowing that that's the case too.
Right, right. It is because they're certainly not world beaters by any means.
No.
But yeah, I mean you have to have I guess a little bit of faith in that secondary. I mean with guys coming a little bit more healthy, it's like D Hall coming back. you have to think we have a better chance now than we did against them the last time we played.
By the way, I want to talk to you guys real quick. You saw the whole article about D Hall in the Post, right? And I think it was Master who was saying that this is the end of the line for him.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's not like it's coming too soon, you know.
No, 32.
You know, that's fair. Yeah, I did hear, you know, I mean, Gruden's comments, I'm sure you guys heard in the presser about him. You know, they're trying to find other ways to use him, including at safety, which is something that we've been speculating for years. Yeah,
since he was like 4 years ago, I think. People were saying that.
Right. And I mean, you know, he's still playing well, but I mean, if you have to find other ways to use him, you have to find other ways to use him. My concern at safety is, would this just be like a Ryan Clark type, you know, replay?
Well,
a slower, older guy playing.
I think he's got wheels still. Ryan Clark couldn't move his legs by the time. He literally just would stand on the field and not do anything.
Yeah.
So, I don't know about that.
He may not have reached that point, but I just feel like it's the same in that it's an older guy switching, you know, playing the safety position towards the end of his career when maybe he shouldn't necessarily be. I mean, I don't want to knock him because he still plays very well. You know, he had some good plays the other day.
If anything, I would rather D. Hall be, you know, playing that nickel slot spot more.
Right, which is another thing that was surmised.
Yeah, kind of. Because he was always so good at blitzing the quarterback.
I think now is just he's going to be more just the gadget guy for defense. You know, he can play safety in a pinch. He can play any corner spot in a pinch as well. And I don't think he's going to be looked at as a full-time starter anymore just because he's 32 and still, you know, pretty banged up from recovering from, you know, his Achilles tear. So it's, you know, I don't think it's anything to really be ashamed of. It's just that's how it is, and he's good. He's quality depth at this point. I mean,
good
not
leadership
a starter.
presence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's a guy who you hope sticks around too after he does hang up the jersey.
Yeah.
But, you know, you never know about that.
No, you never do. I mean, to me, he's kind of like part of that Santana Moss, D'Angelo Hall, London Fletcher trifecta of great players that will never get appreciated because they played on such dog-s teams for their whole careers. Yep. But I love having him around, and I agree. If there's some, you know, when his playing days are over, I hope we find a way to keep him around Ashburn somehow.
Yeah. Keep him in the area, have him coach a high school team or something.
He'll be an analyst. He's got too much of a personality.
Yeah,
to not get
you're
snagged
probably
up.
right.
He does.
He'll have to trim the beard a little, but
I kind of like the beard. I think it's kind of cool.
He's James Harden's twin, by the we. Did you know that?
Yeah, a little bit.
It is a James Harden beard. That's a good pull, actually.
Yeah.
Well, like we said, I feel like we made the point pretty well. The Giants aren't exactly going to come out and surprise us. They're either going to exert their will or they're going to have a bad game, but it's not going to be any, you know, crazy surprising scheme they pull out in terms of offense. Let's flip to the Skins defense. The Skins offense a little bit. Giants defense. Let's talk about the other side of the ball there. Kirk coming from a pretty bad, I mean, not a terrible game for him, but a bad game for the whole team and an average, you know, maybe slightly below for him. Are we going to see a bounce back this week? I mean, I feel like he doesn't play very well against the Giants. This was his 4th interception game.
Right.
Yeah. And 2 earlier in this season.
That's right. So he's probably thrown more interceptions against the Giants than any other team, I would assume.
Oh, that would be a fun if we had a stat boy here, you know, have him go and look that up. But
yeah, Steve's not with us this time, but we'll get him next time for that. But it's not good. That's easy enough to say. And what he really needs to do is just, I mean, hopefully they can figure out a way to get the ball moving on the ground again, and maybe just hope that, you know, last week wasn't a fluke, was a fluke, and, you know, we haven't reverted back to the Stone Age of a stagnant run game. But he needs to just get rid of the ball. You know, if the running game's not going, I think he just needs to stop worrying about the game's riding on me. You know, I got to make something happen. Like the pick he threw to Deshaun in the first interception against the Panthers. I feel like he maneuvered in the pocket well. He had the time to get that throw off. I think he just, you know, it's like, oh, shit, I gotta make a play here, and then that's what happened. I think if he just calms down, play the next play. You know, if you get sacked, you get sacked.
Right.
If not, throw it away or whatever.
If you get sacked, hold on to the ball.
Yeah, don't play hero ball. We said that about Robert back in the day when he was the starter. Don't play hero ball, just manage. So, just calm down, settle down, and just manage the game. That's all he really needs to do, and that's hopefully he can do that again.
I think Brian Mitchell and those guys, Doc Walker and Scott Jackson, were actually talking today about that play where he threw that interception just a little beat too late to G-Jax, who had his hands up saying I'm open, but Kirk was feeling the pressure. He was just a little bit too late. He let it rip. Interception. So, I mean, if you can avoid that, you've already done so much to guarantee or, help yourself get a win. If you can just avoid that cataclysmic panic play.
Well, he may have been under Freddie Mercury, David Bowie level pressure last week. The Giants have a good D-line. Yeah, but they're not gonna do that. Nine Fingers Pierre Paul is not gonna be able to provide the same amount of pressure. I think that
Whole nine
the
fingers?
Panthers
Isn't it
did.
less than that?
Stay tuned for the Hog Sty's cover of Under Pressure after this, by the way.
No, wait, doesn't he have like 7 fingers now?
I don't know. Is it 8.5? What? I don't know how you want to count it.
I thought he lost 3 fingers in this accident.
Okay.
I thought.
Well,
I could be wrong. I thought he had one of these claw deals, thumb pinky deal.
okay.
Am I wrong about that?
Have you seen Scary Movie 2?
Take my strong hand, child.
Oh yeah. Grab my strong hand. This one's not strong enough.
Here comes my Fanny. Watch out for Fanny.
This is incredibly insensitive.
This is
Hey, it's the Giants. Who cares?
It's late. We just interviewed a Redskins legend. Give us a break, people.
Yeah, we're going to talk about people with weird hands.
His shriveled hand. Oh God.
Yeah.
Luckily,
My germs.
Yeah. Puts it right into the potatoes. Luckily, the people at home cannot see the gestures and movements that we're doing that accompany these impressions. 'Cause that's the really insensitive part.
If you've seen the movie, you know.
Yeah.
God, are we getting to the point where that's like considered an old movie? By the way, that's got to be over 10 years old.
Yes, that's definitely an old movie.
Good Lord,
Yeah.
I feel old as shit.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's funny.
Sorry,
funny as
They
hell.
made 8 others, so
they really did. That
By
movie
the
should
way-
have died at Scary Movie 2.
just for the record, you guys won't feel old until a movie you saw in the theaters was on. And AMC's not AMC anymore, but the day I saw Speed was on AMC, and I was like, I saw this in the movie theater.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speed. Yeah, Speed's getting up there too. That's got to
Well,
be. Was
Speed-
that prior to 2000?
Oh yeah.
That is a.
Oh yeah. That's like 1993 or 4
wow.
or something.
That's like a 20-year-old movie. Holy shit.
Jeff Daniels looks like he does in Dumb and Dumber. It's great.
Yeah.
Amazing movie.
Yes.
Well.
It's got a bus. It goes fast.
Yeah. Before we go off the rails too much, we can get back to the game or attempt to. I was going to hit you guys with this. Speaking again about Redskins' offensive chances, the Giants, not exactly a defensive juggernaut this year, guys. They're ranked towards the bottom of the league.
Right.
In terms of their rushing defense, this is what we really want to talk about, since I think we can agree that our offense kind of is contingent on whether or not that gets going. They're average. I think they let up about it said like 110 yards a game, which is good for like middle of the pack average.
Right.
So. Kind of. I mean, they're certainly not the defensive juggernauts that we have played earlier this year. So, I mean, and I think they've actually declined a bit. So they might be trending in the right direction for us to have a bounce back game this week, is what I'm saying. Hopefully.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they a couple weeks ago before the Patriots game, they got smoked by the Saints. They almost let Drew Brees break the touchdown passes record.
Right.
7 touchdowns given up. I mean, that's
right.
that's pretty bad. I mean, we gave up only 2 touchdowns to the Saints. So, I mean, it's any given week, but it also speaks to what we can do,
Yep.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can, get the passing game going on that week's secondary and, take some shots with the Deshaun. I wouldn't take shots when you have Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie chasing him, because Cromartie is just as fast as Deshaun is.
Right.
Cromartie's one of the fastest corners in the NFL. But if you got someone else matched up against him, I would take advantage.
If we can get him in a position like last time, he was in that slot spot, and I guess they didn't adjust for him.
You have to attack those safeties. Landon Collins isn't a cover guy. You got Brandon Merriweather playing strong safety. I mean, those are guys that are built to stop the run. They're not cover guys.
That's a great point.
you have to attack them. I don't think we did that enough last time we played them, and it surely needs to be a challenge this time.
Yeah.
I think, you know what we didn't have last time, too, that's going to really help is
Deshaun.
Crowder's really emerged.
And Deshaun,
Well,
both. But you're right about
not
both.
just Deshaun, because they'll focus on Deshaun, I feel like. But Crowder has gotten better and better, each week. I think if they double up on Deshaun Jackson like they probably will, hopefully that opens up some passing lanes for Crowder, for Garcon, for Jordan Reed.
Great point. Chris Cooley was talking about Garcon specifically earlier today, and Djax. He didn't mention Crowder, but he was talking specifically about those two guys and saying both of those guys are coming alive towards the end of the season here. Djax, for obvious reasons, wasn't on the field till now, but obviously he had his biggest game last week, and he's poised to really, I think he wants to play out the rest of this season well, so he's poised to have a good game this week. Another thing that he was saying was Garcon is doing better at things like finishing routes and attacking the ends of routes and, running the right depth, and he's been playing a lot better too. So both of those guys trending upwards while the Giants defense is trending the other way, those are good signs.
Right.
Well, maybe this time, this go around, instead of running to set up the pass, since they can't really cover the pass, maybe we pass to set up the run. Yeah, we just keep attacking them, and then just hit them up the gut with Matt Jones or Alfred Morris, whoever.
Yeah.
To kind of change the pace.
Something tells me Jay Gruden likes that strategy. I think that probably will be.
That I think if you were to pull out an old copy of Bill Walsh's West Coast Handbook, that's like on page 2 is when we run, it's we're passing to set up the run and
or to close out a game or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's in there on the first couple pages. So it's definitely Gruden's preferred style. Is I think he would much rather be less predictable on first down. Have some runs, have some play action, have some passing. Get yourself. And it's what I think I said this at the beginning of the year. We need to make sure that whatever we're doing by third down, we're in a manageable spot. In the games we struggle, we get away from that.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that if on first down you're not going for 5-6 yards, you're doing it on second.
Right. Yeah. That's solid advice. The team has shown no ability to really do that, but it's,
in their wins, they do.
Yeah.
In their losses, they don't.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
That's one of the common denominators when they can actually get something together. You're right. Is putting yourself in good position for third down conversion, which historically for this team in recent years has not been a strong point.
Oh, no. We were bottom of the league every year with Shanahan.
Yeah. So,
it was very weird. Yeah.
Not a good look. Not a good look at all, guys. With that in mind, what else are you expecting to see? Anything? We saw a wonderful, wonderful kick return this past week from Andre Roberts. Is there any chance we're going to get some help from special teams this week?
I think that was a shooting star.
Yeah.
It was, something miraculous that's not going to happen again.
Well, maybe not with him.
Not with him, yeah.
Yeah. I think we're still, and most teams are, frankly, still looking for that punt returner, kick returner these days. I would have loved to ask Brian Mitchell about 50 questions about that whole situation right now, the punting and no one can find a good kick returner anymore, it seems like.
Yeah.
And it's probably because they moved the ball up 5 yards, but still.
Yeah, it's weird. You just almost never see it. You got a couple guys that can do it, like Ted Ginn, and then most everybody who can't.
And the Giants have a dangerous returner too, though.
They do.
I think he's had some injury trouble recently. I haven't checked up on it since before we got on with Brian Mitchell, but I think it's David Harris, I think is his name.
I was going to ask you who's doing it for them these days. Okay.
I'm pretty sure Harris is his last name, but he's a very good returner. I think he's gotten at least 2 touchdowns this year, and he gets a big chunk of yards in the return game, and he's definitely one we got to keep an eye on. I think he got a big one on us last time we played, actually.
Sounds right. Well, keep your fingers crossed that Tress and Dustin don't fall in the process of making any kicks this week. And we should. God, that was such a horrible way to start last week. Let's hope we don't see that again.
Yeah. By the way, you saw what I made our logo for.
Oh yeah, I like it.
That was brilliant.
Yeah. Well.
Another thing that we saw this past week that I'm really scared we're going to see again is the return of the patented Jay Gruden third quarter slump. Second half, coming out of the second half, slow, sluggish, especially surrendering strip sacks for the first play in the second half. We can't have that this week. We need to keep the pressure on from start to finish, and that includes starting the second half, the third quarter, very fast and well.
And not following bad plays with another bad play. Like that first strip sack came after that holding call on Jordan Reed, and Kirk Cousins had that big run on the read option play, which was awesome, by the way. Do more of that.
Great point.
I mean, following that with the strip sack was just that completely took the air out of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the Culliver thing took away momentum, but that's a bad play call. It's not anything you can really do about that.
Hey,
but
Robbie, I got a question for you about the Jordan Reed thing.
Yeah.
He gets picked on a lot by the refs, and, maybe unfair, maybe fair. But, I feel like anytime he's isolated in a block, it's very easy to see that they're going to throw a flag from time to time. Does he need to, how much does a tight end like him work with Bill Callahan on blocking technique?
That's a good question. When we see at the early years, we had tight ends at ODU, like the first 2 seasons we had tight ends. They, during some of the individual periods of practice, they'd come over and do blocking drills with us. Then they'd run over and go, run routes and catch balls. But
sure.
I mean, yeah, he's had his struggles, but I think he's also gotten better. I mean, I don't.
Oh, he's better from year one. Well, clearly,
from the season. I mean, he was still struggling at the beginning of the season. He's gotten better as we slowly gotten better, but. Last week's call was, if that's a holding call, then I mean, that's the worst holding call I've ever seen. Because I mean, I've watched the play today, again on film. It's
one of his
what are you
hands
looking
was
at?
outside or something, but on the
it was like
shoulder.
on his arm or something like that. It's not even. There was no tug. There was no. He wasn't twisting his body or anything. It was just.
Right.
I mean, is it
really,
because? Do you think it's because he's such a matchup headache for a team that are the officials looking at him more closely? You think for that reason, or because I agree with Alex, it seems like he gets called for a lot.
The way I understand
it, pick. What was it? That might have been the Giants game actually.
Yeah.
He got called for a pick play.
Yeah. Right. I remember. Yeah.
Well, the way I understand it, I'm pretty sure refs, they also watch film like players and coaches do. They know who the repeat offenders are. The ones who are prone to, doing stuff like that. I think he might have just been a victim of a reputation by that point.
It's a snowball effect of his reputation kind of thing.
He has been a holder in the past. He's been flagged for it this year on a number of occasions. And then I think that one was just, hey, you're known to do this. And that, to me, or speaking as the ref, hey, you're known to do this, and to me, this looks like you held him right there, so I'm going to throw the flag. And I think it just kind of hurt him there because of his reputation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does seem like a lot, so.
Yeah.
I guess
Very
that just means you got to
ticky-tacky.
play extra careful and play extra smart, Jordan.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you guys, and I'm looking it up too in the meantime, but how did things shake out injury-wise for some of these key people that suffered injuries last week? Did we get any news on some of these guys like Mr. Trent?
Well, usually they don't.
It's a contusion, which
Right.
is medical for bruise.
Beautiful.
So
Which is good news for us.
That's
he's
excellent news.
day-to-day, they're saying.
Jordan was back out there after an MCL sprain, which that's shocking. Usually something like that sidelines him for 3 weeks.
I know, seriously. That's good.
So, that's great news. Since we're recording this on Tuesday, they usually don't update this stuff till Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
So, that's when Steve gets all that information and gets it to us, and we put it on our website.
But at least we heard about Trent, which is what I think everybody was most concerned about. And it being a bruise is huge news.
Who else was Robinson hurt at the end of it? Was that?
I don't remember. Morris was.
No.
Yeah,
Though I heard
Morris
he was
has the
practicing
ribs.
again, I think. Right?
Robinson didn't play.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
Morris was a rib thing. I think he's okay. I think it's more like a deep bruise type thing or something.
Yeah, well, it carried over from the week before. I remember them saying that.
Yeah.
There was one other
so-
person that we're forgetting too, by the way. There were 4 injuries this past game, but I'm forgetting who it was.
There was someone in the secondary. I don't remember who. Trenton Robinson, maybe?
No.
No,
Johnson,
he didn't play.
Johnson was starting.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, no, but I think he might have gotten hurt on special teams. I don't remember.
Either way, it looks like we survived this past week a little bit better on injuries than we thought we were going to when the game ended. So that obviously,
I worry about the Morris situation. Even though I think I'm probably in the minority who thinks that Matt Jones still has a future, I worry about the fumbling this year.
Yeah,
you know.
I believe in Matt Jones. I think he's playing with nerves. He's yippy. He's jumping around. He's trying to make something out of nothing.
Yeah, he's the young pup trying to create a spark and doing too much.
People forget that Alfred had the same problem his rookie year. He fumbled a lot.
Yeah, he does. First season.
A lot of the greats have had problems with fumbling. Adrian Peterson's been a fumbler. And we mentioned Tiki Barber. He had fumbling problems too. Even, as great as a running back he was, it's just a focus thing. You're trying to do too much. You're trying to get as many yards as you can, and like B. Mitch said, guys go for the football more than they go to tackle you. So you just got to know you got to take care of the football.
B. Mitch didn't have a problem with fumbling.
That's true. You can't all be B. Mitch, though.
No one else can be B. Mitch.
Just to speak a little bit about Alfred Morris, because we talked about it in the Brian Mitchell interview a little bit. Robbie, you asked a question to Brian, which was so depressing to me, because Alfred Morris has 400 yards and 0 touchdowns on the season. That's incredibly depressing. Now, I know he had a fumbling problem in his rookie year, but you have a lot more patience for that when you're putting up good stats. When you're putting up stats like this, or like Matt Jones is putting up, the fumbling thing is a much bigger issue. It's just so depressing, the decline of the running game in general and the decline of Alfred Morris. I mean, this is a sharp drop-off from last year.
Yeah. Yep. I just think we have guys on the line that have promise, like Spencer Long. I think he has promise, but just not there yet. Yeah. And Brandon Sheriff's just not there yet, and neither is Morgan Moses. I mean, he's been getting a lot of attention, especially last week because of his play.
That's right.
But Moses' problem seems to be more the passing game than the running game. Am I right about that?
It's both.
It is?
It's both.
Okay.
He's playing well, don't get me wrong, but there's so much more he could be doing.
Sure.
And when you see it on film, at least knowing how offensive line play, there's so much more he could clean up and just be completely dominant because of his intangibles, his long arms and his length and his body size.
Yeah, he's just a physical specimen for the position, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You see how Trent plays technique-wise, and then you watch Morgan, and there's a big discrepancy. It's just, you got young guys that have to really reach that potential, and I don't know if all of them are going to do that. I think we still need to address it in the offseason, at least at guard.
Spencer Long worries me the most of all those three still. I feel like last week especially, he was getting just blown up play after play.
Yeah, and center is bad too. I mean, Rebus had a great week last week, and then this week was more like the old Josh that we've seen. Like I tweeted out a clip earlier today. Actually,
he shouldn't be playing center.
No, he's not a true center, and it shows it most of the time. But this week, or the game against the Panthers, there was a play where Brandon Sheriff and Morgan Moses both completely opened up the front side of the play. It was a stretch play to their side. Both of them did a fantastic job opening up. It's a huge hole when you see that on film. What made Chris Thompson cut back inside was because Loribus couldn't get his head across of his man. Basically, Josh's ass was in the gap.
Oh, good God!
Where
that's funny.
Well, it was a bad block. His backside was in the gap where he snaps from. He basically tried to position block his guy instead of get in front of him and reach him. Yeah, and because of that, Chris Thompson is forced to cut back inside because he
can't go into Josh's ass.
No. Damn you. You see color. Like if you see an opposing guy's jersey that has color and owns the gap there, the running backs are taught not to go that way. They have to cut back and read off the offensive lineman and what they give him. Because Josh didn't do a good enough block on that, Chris Thompson had to jump inside, and we got like 2 yards on that play where we could have gotten a whole lot more. It's it's stuff like that. Like, Josh not doing that block, Spencer Long getting driven back on plays.
He snapped the ball early or late a couple times too. He like twice this past game, or at least once.
He has at least 2 or 3 bad snaps a game. It seems like,
which is just magnified because he's snapping the ball. Nobody is ready when he jumps, too soon.
Right.
Yeah, and it shows though because you got Spencer Long and Laribas now playing that couldn't get past Laval or Chris Chester in the lineup when they were there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
They have their good moments, and I'm not going to take that away from them, but it's a consistency thing, Well,
all of them will benefit from strong play through the finish of the season here. I mean, there's a lot of people on this team that are going to be playing to win these last few games. Even if it's not about making the playoff run, it's about getting contracts next year and proving that you've got what it takes. So there's a lot of guys, I think, that are on that chopping block that are going to be looking for good performances here in the last few games.
Yeah.
Do we want to try to do like game balls or
game predictions?
Game prediction. I mean, obviously not a game ball. Yeah. Can't reward that yet. Game
practice balls.
Yeah.
I predict I'll give this game ball to this player.
Actually, you know what? You could probably predict that pretty closely, I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've definitely hit a rhythm as a team where you kind of know what everyone's going to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We really have.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's really surprising us except for guys coming back from injury that are, like D-Jax, who's coming from nothing to something. I'll start off the predictions, I guess. I'll go, unfortunately, I've been saying this for weeks. I hate the Giants. I feel like they have our number. I feel like they're one of our tougher matchups. I can't. It's hard for me to see a win out of this, even though we're playing for first, and this would mean everything, and the guys clearly want it. I just don't see it happening. I'm looking at like a 24-10 Giants victory at FedEx Field. I know that's rough, but I think Eli Manning gets to do whatever he wants. I think he gets the better of our secondary, even though they're playing, okay. And I think we see continuation of offensive struggles, no running game, and Kirk has to force it, and we know what he does when he forces it against the Giants. So that's what I'm looking at, 24-10 Giants.
I'm kind of with you. I feel like the teams, I don't know how badly they want it. We haven't seen much of that in the media, but the media's been focused on the Hatcher nonsense and it's early in the week. We're not getting ramped up for the game yet. People are also distracted with Thanksgiving, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this early.
Yeah. I'm going to be going to my family in Philly and, eating cheesesteaks.
Ooh, nice.
We should ask B. Mitch what it's going to do for Thanksgiving.
What a good question. We should have
Damn it, Robbie. Now you bring up a good question. I don't think we'll pull it out, but I do think it'll be close. I'm going to go 21-20 Giants.
Wow, cool.
I'm pretty close to what you're saying, Sean. I'm thinking it's going to be like 24-17. I just feel like we're not going to get pressure on Eli, and because of that, he's just going to pick us apart, drive right down the field and score. And, we're going to get our garbage time at the end of each half. It's going to be a struggle throughout. I don't see the consistency enough to really have any confidence that we're going to play any better than we did against the Panthers, because Giants to me are on that level. Yeah. May not show record-wise, but they're on the same level because they went toe-to-toe with the Patriots. And again, I have a feeling that this is another year where they're going to be dangerous in the playoffs if they make it.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. Like any day, any given week, they might play like one of the best teams in the NFL, and then the next week they might play like one of the worst. But they have the potential of a Patriots or a Panthers team. I think you're right.
Yeah, but then on the flip side, we could all be way off, and they could play like it was the Saints game.
Yeah,
you're absolutely
I hope so.
right. Though I will say, guys, we've been pretty good about predictions. I have not wanted to call too much attention to that. I don't want to jinx us, but we've been pretty damn good about predicting these games. Not always with the score, but usually with the win-loss. So
yeah. And I'd much rather eat crow in predicting a loss.
Yeah.
And a surprising win than I'm glad I was right. We lost. Woohoo!
Exactly.
I think I'm not going to do it. Hey, fans out there, if any of you actually care, go back and find out who's been the closest.
Yeah.
That would take some dedication.
Guys, I think it's
much
me.
appreciated.
I think it's me, guys. I've been pretty fucking close, and that's not because I know more about football than anyone. I've just been a lucky son of a bitch this year. I have called.
I think you predicted a loss a lot more.
So actually, if we're talking about the predictions we did before the season even started, when we went through the schedule,
we're all way off. We're all terrible.
That I was terrible at. I think I predicted the most wins of anybody here. But since then, I have predicted losses most consistently of all of us, and I've been pretty close.
I think we all thought the Panthers were going to struggle this year to start.
Yeah.
So
shows how much.
Yeah, I think I'm right behind you though, Sean, in predicting losses. I think I predicted only a couple of wins.
Really?
And then the one win I predicted we lost. I think since then I've just kept saying loss, and being happy with the win.
It's the same.
But we'll get skin tangibles every time.
Yeah. Well, that is your Giants preview, so keep your fingers crossed through the rest of this week. We're coming at you a little early this one, but we will see on Sunday, and hopefully we're wrong, and we're going to pull out a win here. As we said earlier, if you haven't checked it out already, Brian Mitchell was interviewed by us, and that completes the Inside the Locker Room 980 trifecta for us.
We got to start working on some 106.7 guys.
I know.
We're a little lopsided.
We've got everybody from 980. We've got
Danny Rue, you're on our target.
Yeah, Rue, we're coming for you, bro. And you're going to be on, and we're going to talk Star Wars and video games with you, because that's what's going to happen.
We won't talk a single word of football.
Nope, who cares?
Steve will quit.
Yes,
at least quit on the night.
Right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you for being with us here tonight, and we will see you soon for the game recap. So we'll see you then.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Turkey Day.